get ready for some absolutely crazy, massive margins on our February sales. Hey everyone, welcome back to the apartment. This is Real Boring Flips, and I'm Kevin, your host. And today we've got a review of the entire month of February sales. I know we're actually a week into March now when I'm recording this, so I'm a little late getting this out. But for various reasons, that's the case. So we're going to cover, in fact, I've got a couple of items. These will show up in your what sold in March video, but got a couple things to pack up here, get these shipped out, and start on continuing this excellent sales stream that we're on. I will say that my experiment with listing 5 items every day, regardless of even if I have to end and sell similar, that I think really works. Now, I had, because we were gone for a little bit of time, that dropped off and my sales dropped off. So do whatever you have to do a consistent 5-item listing per day. If you're like me and this is part-time, that's a struggle sometimes. So, I mean, if this is your full-time job, then you're probably doing more than that, or at least you should be. But I noticed quite an increase in sales. It's now dropped off. I'm still getting a few. Got 4 items here to pack up, but I like to have at least 1 to 2, maybe 3 sales a day. And I'm below that now. Typically, my sales have been around 120 items and around 9,000 in revenue for every 90 days. Now, that's not actual revenue, because it's shipping charges as well, and it's not profit because I still have, even though my margins are really good, I still have obviously other expenses. So part of my reason for kind of slowing down on listings is really just trying to get my tax situation done. I've got my own tax return. My kids also rely on me to at least start their tax returns. And then I also have another side business where I do the tax return. So, and that's a corporation. So it's actually due here in another week. So sometimes you just have to kind of be okay with your reselling business taking a backseat to life and other responsibilities. That's okay. That's one of the reasons where I really don't recommend people push towards reselling as a full-time job, because that's really hard. I've spent some time doing this. I've always done this part-time, but last year I decided I was going to put as much time as I could in reselling, and it felt like if that was my only source of income, I probably would have gone mad. And just watch some YouTubers reseller YouTubers that do this as a full-time job, and you'll see they're going mad. Anytime the economy gets disrupted or other things happen, maybe eBay changes some of their policies and suddenly the world's ending, don't do that to yourself. Do this part-time. Whether you're working a full-time job or you're in retirement, do it part-time. You'll really enjoy it. I really enjoy doing this, knowing that it's not my real source of income. It is a source of income, but not my full source of income. So if you are pushing to be a full-time reseller, keep that in mind, that there's going to be quite a bit of struggle when you finally make that leap. It's not for everyone. So I would really encourage you to simulate a full-time before you actually make the jump. Don't quit your day job. Okay, so before we get into it, we're gonna break from here, and I'll show you on screen my solds for the month. Before we do that, I know you're here for another reason, and that reason is to see what I'm enjoying. And today I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy this, but I'm going to enjoy this Jumex Guanabana nectar. Now, take a look at that. That doesn't look appealing to me, but it's in a blue can, so that it's got to be good, right? And it does not have a BPA lining, so I'm not sure what that means, but we're going to go ahead and give this a shot. A little nervous about this one. That is a thick juice, but not bad. Actually, I give it a plus rating. very thick though. That's hard to get over. So not bad. Okay, we're gonna jump over here and we'll go through these sales, and then we'll jump back over here and we'll end this video. So hang on. We'll be right back. Some of the margins that you're going to see for some of these sales are just absolutely insane. This is an example. These bonds, registered bond certificates, came from a estate sale, one of those online estate sales where you get to pick what you take. So I bought an entire room, and the reason I bought the room was because I could see a couple of brass boat propellers. One of them ended up being broken, but the other one was in great condition. I sold that for a lot of money, paid for the room, but I scoured the room for other things. These registered bond Tacoma Masonic Corp 1924 stocks, or registered bonds, I guess, were in one of the books or one of the packets that I found. And unfortunately, they're registered bonds, so they were registered to a certain person. I don't know if these were lost over time and whoever owned these never received the money, but it was hundreds of dollars in these bonds. And so really not much value to these, but I sold them to a local buyer here in Tacoma, coincidentally. And I essentially paid a penny if you counted up everything that I bought from that room. So 1 penny to $30, not a bad flip. Vintage computers can bring great money. This came as I think it was a day 2 at an estate sale, big estate sale, and a lot of property. I found this in some corner, and I think I actually found a couple of laptops like this, old vintage laptops. This one was a Windows 98, which can be desirable for people who want to run old games. It was worked fine actually, and so I just did a little couple of screenshots showing different parts of the computer, how much RAM, what kind of hard drive, what kind of processor, all that stuff. And this sold relatively quickly once I listed it, and I got my asking price of $200. Great flip. I essentially had maybe $5 into this. A day 2. That was the important part. That's kind of how I kind of mold my businesses. I buy the boring stuff that people pass over, and so to find something like this on day 2 is really nice. You've heard me talk about the Facebook Marketplace purchase. It's kind of been an ongoing purchase. I've purchased several times as this person has been unloading a large storage unit that was a friend's husband's stuff. He passed away. He was a gamer. So I've been selling magazines, I've been selling vintage strategy board games, and this was just the book for a board game. So pennies in for this, and sold it for $25 relatively quickly, so maybe I underpriced it, but it was difficult to comp because I think the only other one out there was a foreign sale. But my buyer was happy. So this isn't quite an old listing on my red background, but this is definitely an old listing because I don't even know what that background is. And so I must have had these for quite a while. And finally I took an offer to get these sold. Some of these inks are really good, just depends on the printer that they go to. Now I've sold, I'm pretty sure, maybe I sold an R2800. I think that was a more desirable printer. But still got some money for these. I probably had a couple of dollars into them at the most. So here's a lesson. When you're out thrifting at a estate sale where you're digging through stuff and you come across a bunch of vintage manuals, instruction manuals, you're going to get them cheap, most likely. Grab as many of that kind of thing as you can. Pennies into this. Red background, so it's been a while. But $15 for pennies. So you've heard me talk about selling cordless phone handsets. These next two, I think these next two, yeah, these next two were to the same buyer. I got these. They're kind of a unique cordless phone because they actually paired with a doorbell camera, and so the handsets actually you could see the camera, see the image from the camera. I got all this whole set for $4 Black Friday at our local Goodwill, and I've already sold several. I think you'll see several of them sell here. I've got a couple of the handsets left, maybe one handset left, but really great flip for just a couple of dollars in. So these are the two. Now weirdly, I had there were a couple different versions of the handset, so a couple of different models. I had two of one of the other, and weirdly the same buyer bought one of one and one of the other instead of just buying both that I had available of the one model. That was odd. I got this West Bend it's a little food processor at a Value Village, and it was brand new in the package. Now I was a little worried that it maybe had been one of those things that was you couldn't sell on eBay anymore because it had been a product recall. I wasn't positive, but it was brand new in the box, and I only paid a couple of dollars for it at Value Village, so I was happy to get my full asking price of $80. I had it listed at $100, and then I put a 20% off sale, and it sold quickly. So if you're into ham radio or electronics communication gear, and you see LDG, that's a great brand to pick up. This was a purchase that was from an online estate sale where I got a lot of stuff. This was just part of it. It didn't have the power adapter, so I used just one that I had here just for testing, and then sold it without the power adapter. And my buyer was happy to get it. I got good feedback. I was a little worried about a possible return because they were giving me way too much information. But in the end, they told me they were happy with it. And that was a great flip because I think, overall I probably only had about $10 or $15 in. The margins on some of these sales are just out of this world. I mentioned earlier the Facebook Marketplace Strategy board game magazine sale. Here's another sale out of that set of magazines. Of my $150 investment, I'm probably $500 in sales at this point. And I've got another one that just sold, so I'm $600 in on sales from these magazines. Crazy margins. Literally $5. I think when I inventoried everything, all of the strategy and tactics came in as a $5 investment, and I've literally got $500 in sales. So these next two items, these both sold to a drop shipper, and if you've been reselling on eBay, you encounter the drop shipper occasionally. Usually it comes across as, please don't include any invoice or any other markings. This is a birthday gift from my friend. And so this guy apparently is sending his friends CenturyLink model modems as birthday gifts. I try to accommodate people, but at the same time, I use my packing slip for a couple of different reasons. One, to ensure I'm shipping the correct item, but the other is in case the shipping label on my package is ever damaged, I want something in the box that shows who sent it and where it's going. So I try to accommodate people, but usually there's something in the box with my name and address on it, and the receiver's name and address. You've heard me talk about selling juicer parts. I've got a couple of solds here in the month of February. This is one of them. These things are it's like printing money. I buy these juicers. Now this was a Jack LaLanne juicer. There's several different models. They're all very similar. They just maybe have different materials on the different parts. I don't sell a lot of the blades and strainers, but I list them because they're small and easy to list, and they go into a box with everything else. I buy juicers for $2 when they're still there on $2 discount day at Goodwill. I typically sell about $30 to $40 worth of parts for every $2 juicer that I buy. You've heard me talk about this. This will probably always be the best thrifting trip I ever had. Was an estate sale where I bought an entire room of electronics, computer parts, vintage stuff, and shelving, which is what I needed. And $1,200 in, I'm over $10,000 in sales, and I still have a ton of stuff. One of the things I looked for, and I mentioned earlier on that Sony instruction manual, even a duplicate. Now this was professionally reproduced manual, but even a reproduction manual is still valuable to someone who has the device and wants the service manual or some such thing. Pennies into this item, $29.88 sold. These comic books were kind of a throwaway for me. They came with something else. Didn't plan on listing them. Thought I was just going to throw them in a donate pile. But since there were 5 of them, I thought it might be worth lotting together. And sure enough, I was so surprised. Pennies in, $35 sold plus shipping. Sometimes we just sell our own stuff. This book set these were my kids' books. I'm not sure when we got these or why we got these, but we had this book set. My kids are all adults now, and so I just put these together. They were around forever. Not a red background, but they were around forever. Finally, I took an offer. I think I sold them at $7, and the buyer was happy to get them. They're nice books, nice condition. It just wouldn't be something I would go buy to resell. I look at Goodwill. Sometimes they'll have like just a big plastic tote full of stuff, and I've talked about the Connects that I've bought, several totes full of stuff. This was something I wasn't familiar with. I didn't know what it was. I had to actually do a little bit of work, just scanning, taking photos of items and searching. But this was a bunch of parts, this huge tote full of this stuff. I created, I think, 5 lots of parts, huge tote of these things, and I just split them up. So this one, my buyer actually bought two lots, and I gave a good offer, or I accepted a lower offer, I think $42 or $43 per lot, plus shipping. But I paid $13 for the entire tote, and I have the tote that I'm using for something else. And I think it was originally marked at $20, and the way they do these sometimes, if there's no lid for a tote, they just put a bunch of tape over the top of it. So you can kind of see in there, but it's covered in tape. Well, someone had peeled the corner up, and that's how I was able to pull a piece out to at least scan it and figure out it was GeoTracks. But I didn't see any train cars in the tote, and so I asked when I went to buy it if they would discount me, because it looked as if someone maybe had pilfered something. So they checked, and sure enough, there were some cars in that item, and they were now gone. So I paid $13 for the whole tote. I've sold 2 lots, the green track and then the supports, so far for about $85 or $90 for those 2 lots. I've got a whole lot of 2 more lots of track, a lot of and then a lot of accessories, plus a couple of cars that were in there. So massive profit, high margin on these things. Not something you really want to do all the time, but because there was so much, it was definitely worth it. I talked about this game, this Ethnos game. It was part of my big board game haul, and it was missing one piece. And so I paid, I think, $6 for the game originally. I paid another $6 to buy that one piece, but thankfully I was able to buy it, so I had a complete game. And I ended up taking an offer, I think about $62 for my buyer, plus shipping. They were really happy with the game. It was a nice condition game. And so that was a great flip. I'm really enjoying doing board games. It's really been profitable with high margins. Red background alert. This is a really old item. Highly suggest that you never buy third-party brand filters of any kind. This was early on in my reselling, when I started an actual business. There was probably I think a pack of 4 or 5 of these, and you would look on eBay and you'd see that one sold, and so okay, that's a great buy. I think I have one left, I think, of all those. And do not buy these. And mostly, I don't even buy the brand name ones because a lot of people get Veros on those. So I just don't even bother with stuff like this. I mean, if you need one for your own fridge, buy one, but don't buy them to resell. This was a great Facebook Marketplace flip. I found this. I've been selling a lot of HP and Tektronix electronics gear, and this showed up on Facebook Marketplace. Person was local to me, and I paid $20 for this. And what was intriguing was not only it worked, but it had all of these connection cables for, if you're not familiar with what a logic analyzer is, you're connecting it to maybe a circuit board or something, and you're connecting all these cables to various connections on your electronic device, and then it also had the software on these floppy disks, if you know what a floppy disk is. And so an older device, but nice condition, working. I did not think I would get $200 for it, but this was a great $20 to $200 flip. It's where I like to be. I like to be the $1 to $10, and not too hard to ship, actually. Red background alert. I mentioned that consistent listings seem to really trigger the algorithm for my items. I just started selling red background items, and so it was nice to get this one sold. I did take an offer, I think about $135. I did not make much on this. I think I paid over $100 for it, but it was so cool. And at the time, the comps looked much better. I've had this priced much higher at different times, but finally just decided let's get it moved, and someone wants it, and they were happy with it. The truth is out there. So, sad story. This Hamilton Beach juicer pulp cup did not survive the shipping. I've never had a problem with these kind of things getting damaged in shipping, but it was obliterated by the post office. So I filed a claim. We'll see how that goes. I've never been successful with my USPS insurance claim, so we'll see what happens. The buyer was really understanding. They were like, hey, just refund me for the item. I'll eat the shipping. And I didn't feel good about that, so I just refunded them the entire amount and figured I'd take my chances with the post office. But I don't know what happened. The box was completely smashed, so can't explain it. These things are pretty tough. And this is actually a very different one. So at some point, I think they abandoned the Jack LaLanne juicer name and went with this fusion juicer. It's essentially the same juicer, just no longer Jack LaLanne. I buy these for $2, and I sell the pulp bin, I sell the pusher, I sell the blades, I sell the lid, I sell the diverter. I toss the motor. I don't even bother with the motors, but I literally will make $30 to $40 on a $2 investment every time. This was my last Epson PictureMate printer AC adapter. I quit selling the printers. If I get a sealed toner, I'll sell that. But I just take these AC adapters and sell them. Sometimes I have to actually buy them, but if I see one of these in Goodwill and I can get it for $1 because it's in the dollar electronics rack, I'll buy it. Now, just for information, I always look through these things for odd connectors and odd voltages or amperages. So this has an odd connector and it's 42 volts. So always worth checking, especially if it's a brand name. But I consistently will sell these for $15 to $20 plus shipping. This was a recent purchase at my local Goodwill, just sitting in the toy. They just toss all the toys, loose toys, into a shelf, and it's usually a disaster. But I saw this in there. I knew it was vintage Hello Kitty, and it was. And I paid, I think, $4 for it, and out the door, $50 later plus shipping. Now I had one issue. The buyer, they actually made an offer, so it was a little less than 40. I think it was about $45, but they were in Hawaii, and I knew from past experience that the shipping that was going to get charged was probably higher than I could ship it for. The mistake was that somehow this listing included media mail as an option, and the buyer selected media mail. I didn't feel like fighting with them, so I just went ahead and paid. I think I ended up paying like $4 extra shipping just to get this shipped out, but I think they were happy to get it. Okay, I got one more item after this, but my January sales, you saw that great board game flip where I sold a $10 game that I bought for $500. This was also part of that great board game haul of strategy, military strategy board games. This was the second best game that I got at that time. I paid $15 for this one, and as you can see, it went out for $230. Just an incredible amount of great games bought at the same time. I've sold so many of those for good money. This was one of the best, but still great money all around. Okay, and this was the last item. This was the third of the sets of that weird video cordless phone. And this was the base station and the doorbell camera. And the funny story about this, as I mentioned earlier, I paid $4 for the whole set. It didn't have the doorbell. It just was the box, the handsets, and the base station. And so I was a little bummed that it didn't have the doorbell. I went back the next day, and I found the doorbell just laying on the shelf. So someone had pulled it out. This is the irritation that all resellers probably have. Maybe some resellers do this. I don't. I don't take stuff out of a box and then just leave it on the shelf. If I open a box, I put everything back in the box and seal the box. But someone had taken it out, put it on the shelf, and then so I just took it up to the front counter. I said, hey, this was part of something I bought yesterday. And so they just gave me the camera. So I included it in here. I was able to test everything, which was great. Included a video of the camera working on the handsets. And it helped turn my $4 investment. So $40 for this. And then each of those handsets sold for $20. So $4 into $80, I still got another handset to go. Awesome margins. I can't believe how crazy great the margins have been for stuff that I'm selling. So awesome February. March is not on the same trajectory yet, but I think we're going to ramp things up as I continue hard listing, getting things moving. I've been doing so good buying stuff, I got to start getting things listed. So excellent time. So we'll switch back to the rest of the video. Okay, I have no idea if the original first part of this video sound was good or not. I never had my mic on, but the camera has a mic, so hopefully that wasn't too bad. I'll tweak it in post, as they say. So those were great sales. I'm really happy with the stuff that's selling. If you noticed, I think I talked about it in the other part of the video. Those red background pictures, those are my really old listings. So I'm happy to see some of those old listings jumping into the sold pile. And I attribute that to my consistent 5-item per day listing. I think that is just magic for the algorithm. Your items get seen. And so I'm going to jump back on that train of 5 items a day, regardless. If I have to do it in the middle of the night because I forgot, I'm doing 5 items a day and sell similar if I have to. But if you've noticed, if you've seen my recent videos, I've had several what great stuff came in. I got a lot of stuff to get listed. So I'm going to get right on that. We'll jump off here. I'm going to get on to listing, try to jam through as many listings as I can. My available time has really been disrupted lately, and so I've much less time available for reselling. So hopefully when I get done with the taxes, that'll ease up a little bit. But we are starting to get into the nice outdoor time, so I've got a lot of outdoor work on our property to do, so a lot of responsibilities fighting for attention, but that's okay. I do want to say thank you again. I do the value for value model, the Curry-Dvorak value for value model, to give you value with these videos, and then you return that value by watching them, liking them, subscribing to the channel, commenting, sharing these videos with people that you think might enjoy them or get something out of them. So appreciate that again. Thank you everyone for doing that. And as I always say, join me again next time for some Jumex. That's some good Jumex. I'm not even sure if that's a real name. Is guanabana, guanabana, is that even a thing? Guanabanas. How in the world do you say that?